Sean Gathright, SeanGathright. I was born on October 20th, 2005.
Now, I know we've reached the end of this journey when it comes to the Julio Folio 5, right? I know we've pretty much gone through everything from preliminary hearings to trial to penalty to sentencing, right? Now, I just wanted to point out a few things from the Sean Gathright part of this case. One of them being when this boy took the stand, essentially to plead his case so that the state don't execute his dumb ass, right? And this is basically him going up there and telling the jury, don't execute me, I used to be a good kid, right? So basically, this is where his defense is trying to frame a narrative that he could do some things and be beneficial in prison, even though the warden basically said all we gonna do is treat him like a slave, use him, abuse him, and then when he dies, ship him out in the bag, right? But there was some really interesting and quite frankly hilarious moments during this testimony of Sean Gathright from both the defense and the attorney for the prosecutors. Y'all, I'm gonna interject when I find something interesting, but y'all check this out.
Mr. Gathright, you've heard people speak here today on your behalf and yesterday, and I know that you wanted to address the court and the jury. So I would like to ask you what you want the jury to know.
I just want to address the court today, and I'm not here to dispute anything. I'm just here to be a man and take responsibility and express my feelings.
Him using the word responsibility is going to come back and bite him in the ass later.
About this whole situation. That's what I plan on doing.
Okay. And how do you feel? What?
I feel very remorseful. This is a terrible situation. It's been a traumatic experience.
He's gonna wish he hadn't said the word responsibility, remorseful, or traumatic.
Let me ask you this. So, how old were you when you were arrested?
I was 18 years old.
We heard that you had started some college, obviously probably didn't get very far, right?
Right.
What have you done since you've been in jail? Is there programs? Are there things that you can do there?
So, I've gotten into programs. I've also, I grew up, in church and, in a Christian household. So I refocused my, life to Christ, and, I've taken a lot of religious programs. I've read the Bible from cover to cover.
It's funny. Everybody finds God when they facing life behind a concrete wall and steel. I'm not knocking people's religious preferences, but it's awful funny that when you facing life and you back behind the wall, a lot of people that you find that are in prison or jail mysteriously and miraculously find a higher power and a higher purpose when they know they're not going to ever step foot on concrete in the free world again.
I've tried to, share some word, and, we have prayer circles in the jail and stuff like that. I've led a couple, prayer circles, and I've tried to, kids around my age or, younger, since I'm 20 years old, now that when you turn 18, you go to the adult pods and stuff like that. So if I see somebody who I see, has a lot of potential and has a chance to keep them from, basically being able to be corrected at this opportunity and not come back, I try to take them under my wing, As you see, I have a lot of resources and a lot of family that love me, and they've even, asked me like, hey, is there anybody in there who doesn't have somebody like that, who, could we send them some money, like, anything like that. So I've tried to, be a vessel for God to pour over my blessings into those around me.
We heard from Mr. Benoska, who said that, in prison that there is opportunities at times to be a mentor or do orientations and peer-to-peer things like that. Is that something that you'd be interested in doing?
Of course, I definitely want to, try my absolute best to course correct anybody from falling down a path that they don't have to take, especially the youth. I feel like that's my calling that God has put on my heart to, be a mentor to the youth and be a positive influence.
It's funny. He used the word course correct. I wish that this defense attorney would have asked him on the stand. So if you feel as though your best calling or your purpose while you're in that jail is to help course correct other youth, why didn't it work for you? How come you had all these resources and influences, as he stated? Where did you go wrong that you chose to blatantly go in the wrong direction with all of the course correction that I'm pretty sure you had, with all of the influences and positive role models that his family have stated on multiple occasions during their various testimonies? Where did you go wrong? And what made you choose to blaze a path of destruction
in this world?
What about those relationships? Like you said, you have a lot of people. Are you able to maintain those relationships now?
Yeah, so, everybody who I, maintain a relationship with wasn't able to all be here today or, even testify. But, I talk to them daily, weekly, bi-weekly. I cherish my supporters very deeply. And I want to maintain a relationship with them for the rest of my life.
We'll see how long that lasts, kid. When they get tired of getting them collect calls and having their calls monitored and having to deal with the logistics of prison, we gonna see how long those relationships last. The only one that's gonna be there for you from the looks of it is your stepfather, your sister, and your damn mama and your grandmama. All them supporters and friends and all that's going, they gonna run off. They ain't gonna be in your corner very long, bruh. Life means life. That means they are never going to physically be able to touch you, hold you, nothing like that ever again, bruh. So all of that, my supporters will be in my corner. Yeah, we gonna see who gonna be the real riders in your corner, bruh.
And I know, we're not going to talk about the case itself, right? But you said that you were taking accountability, you felt remorseful. Tell us what you mean by that and what statement you want to make.
To the victim's family, I want to send my deepest condolences and I understand that it's hard losing a child, a best friend, a brother, a cousin. And for that, I just cannot say sorry enough. I feel terrible about the situation, but I'm a firm believer that God can use anything for good that the devil wanted for bad. And so I am grateful for the people I've met, for the lessons that I've learned, for just this experience in general, because it's one that I'll never forget and it's going to shape the rest of my life.
Sounds like there's that saying, it's kind of cheesy, but you make lemons out of lemonade or whatever.
Of all of the silly, idiotic comments that could have been made from that defense table, that has to be the worst one. How do you make lemons out of lemonade with a life sentence for taking somebody's life? The mom of Julio Fulio, I'm not sure if she's in the room at the moment, but if I was her, I'd have been livid. I would have been pissed. making lemons out of lemonade for murdering her son. And you think that's a moment, you think that's the appropriate phrase to use in this situation? You just made this boy look like a just pure D moron. Lemons out of lemonade. This man took somebody's life. There is nothing lemonade-y or lemonade nothing that can be made out of this, other than the fact that he can be an influence to the younger generation as to what not to do. This is not a situation that you should be able or should be even thinking of making a comment about making lemons out of lemonade.
Lemonade out of lemons.
Somehow. I obviously don't make lemonade, but it sounds to me like you are going to try and make the best of a bad situation. Does that sound about right?
Of course.
And are you going to continue to do that?
Of course. I'm going to try to, continue a humble life, a righteous life, try to do the right things at all times and.
Will you apprise yourself? We've heard about some, courses and programs and things that you can get involved with to stay busy in prison. Is that something that you plan to do?
Yeah, so hearing Raul's testimony was, the first glimpse that I have of, what prison it could be like. I want to stay as busy as possible, stay away from bad apples. I want to, keep a job. Get into programs, try to get into any vocational things I can do, try to, keep my record clean to, go to the best incentivized things and have visits with my family. And, I just want to just stay out the way, just want to make everything, peaceful as can be.
So you're going to stay out the way, huh? That's cool. The one thing I noticed, everybody's got a plan when they get to prison until they run up on some dudes that got different ones. You can make all these promises and all these statements about what you going to do, what you want to do, all this stuff that you talking about you want to do when you get to prison and try to better your life. But I got 2 letters for you, bruh. PC, protective custody. That better be the first letters out of his mouth when he gets on that yard. Protective custody. He ain't going nowhere but to the warden's office and be like, put me in protective custody. Put me in the PC yard. Because when he gets there, they going to be on his natural light-skinned ass. They are going to get him quick. There is no way this boy is going to be up in this yard on the main line talking about what he going to do. He going to stay out the way. No, they're going to try and recruit him. They're going to either recruit him to join their situation, or the alternative is something I can't even talk about on here because YouTube is YouTube.
Even knowing that you're not getting out of prison, you want to make the best of your stay there?
Of course. I mean, who wouldn't? If you're going to be somewhere for the rest of your life, why would you make your life a living hell?
See, this is the part that they don't talk to you about in these rap songs. He's going to make his life a living hell simply by being who he is, what he did, the fact that he cried, the fact that he's crying for his life right now. He is going to make his life a living hell because the fact that he went out there with his people and took Julio Fulio's life, that little gangster rapping and all that. And mind you, he actually made a music video to that effect about the situation, made an entire music video. So guess what? He's going to be held to that standard when he gets to prison. All those people that didn't get to see this trial, when he get to prison, they going to press him. When they find out what he in there for, they going to get on his ass. They going to be like, yo, you was all that in the street. All that, you crying and all that, that don't mean nothing to hear. You got to prove that you about what you talking about. You got to prove that you about that life. You was representing it out on the streets. You was talking all that big money, tough guy shit when you was all in them videos screaming and hollering about what you going to do and all this and that, up in 30s and all that. Guess what? You got to live by that, bruh. You got to prove that. You got to live by it. Stand on that. Now, this gentleman right here, I'm not sure what his name is, but I'm assuming he's with the prosecution based on his level of questioning. But this man here basically is the conscience of the people. The questions he was asking Sean Gathright on the witness stand was nothing less than pressure. I mean, remember I made the comment about how Sean was going to regret saying the words trauma and responsibility and accountability. Yeah, this man did not forget. And he basically reminded Sean Gathright about those words.
And you saw the autopsy photos of Charles Jones. My question to you is, after you and your friends inflicted that carnage on June 23rd, and as you were running States 2059C, this is actually you running to shoot them, but when you were running back past that Tesla, were you feeling a lot of trauma at that point?
It was so long ago, I try to not remember anything from that night.
Were you remorseful as you were running back with that AR-15 in your hands?
Like I said, I try to remember nothing from that night.
Was it traumatic to you as you went back to the car with that AR-15? Was it still smoking? Was it still warm in your hands from firing it?
Ouch. Yeah, I told y'all he was going to make him regret them words. Remorse, regret, accountability. Yeah, homie didn't come to play. My mans did not come to play with Sean Gathright. He was going to make him admit on the stand how he felt that night to see if that was going to trip him up. I think homeboy was trying to trip him up to make him say something in front of the jury to turn around all that narrative about him being a good kid and shit. Yeah, he was trying to get homie the needle.
Sustain the objection.
Were you feeling remorse as you were getting back into the Impala?
Like I said, I just try to focus on today and moving forward.
So the next day, that Impala, that was your car. You drove that around, right? It was your mom's, but you drove that car, correct?
Yes, sir. It was my mother's car.
Right. And that was the car you drove from Jacksonville to Tampa in, correct?
I'm going to object to that stuff.
I'm working to a point, Your Honor.
Okay, why don't we just get there?
No, Judge, let him answer it.
So this car, this Impala that you drove from Jacksonville to Tampa in with Mr. Chance and Miss Andrews, the one that you drove in tandem with the Silver Cruise, the same car that you utilized to drive the assault team, the shooting team, which you were a part of that night. That same car that you drove around Tampa in the early morning hours for several hours, tracking, stalking, and hunting Charles Jones and his entourage.
I told y'all, that's why I love this guy. He got them dudes sounding like they going from young, dumb kids to SEAL Team 6. He's making it a narrative in the jury's mind that these ain't a bunch of kids. These ain't a bunch of young, dumb kids. He got the whole SEAL Team 6 SWAT team swinging in from helicopters on ropes to go take out one guy. Yo, I love the way he framed that. He is really making it out so that the jury sees that, hey, look, this man carried a whole shooting assault team. These dudes was scoping and surveilling like they had a whole military truck and a CIA van parked on the corner, scoping that boy's movements out. This bull vicious.
That same Impala, you drove that to Polk County the next day, and you dropped it at your grandmother's house, right? The same grandmother who came in here last night and testified for you, correct?
Overall, go ahead. You can answer that question.
Isn't that correct?
What is the question?
Nah, you heard the question, bro. Stop acting dumb. I know you heard that question. You know exactly what he's talking about. Stop sitting here acting like you ain't taking accountability. This is why I say he was going to regret that word accountability, trauma, and remorse and all that. He knew exactly what he was doing. And now that the district attorney is calling him out on it, he acting dumb. Y'all notice he keep looking to his right at the judge like the judge gonna save his ass. Nah, bruh. You gotta take this heat. Just like you wanted to put over the whitewash and, oh, I'm a good kid. I'm gonna do all these things in prison and make things better and make positive changes. You still have to atone for what you did. And the district attorney is trying to press him to make him say what he did so that everybody in court can understand the gravity of him admitting to his crime, admitting to his role. He's under the impression that he don't want to say nothing because, as we now know, he's trying to put money together for an appeal. So he don't want to say nothing out of pocket that's going to mess that up. No, bro, we passed that.
You dropped it at your grandmother's house in Auburndale, didn't you?
I'm here to testify about today.
Are you going to answer that question, or are you going to avoid it? Because that's not what I asked what you were doing here today. I think we all understand what you're here to do today, what you're testifying about. I'm asking you specifically about your remorse. Were you remorseful when you dropped that car off and left it at your grandmother's house in Auburndale?
I did go to my grandmother's house.
Were you feeling remorse when you hugged her and got into the 4Runner and left her with the Impala after you wiped it down?
Sir, I'm just telling you that today I would like to express my remorse to the family and to the court.
I understand what you're trying to do today. I'm asking you, since you're trying to convince this jury that you're remorseful, were you feeling remorse that next day or later that day?
I don't remember these days in detail, how I was feeling, what I was thinking.
What about later that night when you went to Orlando? Were you feeling remorse when you were out partying at Club Parlay, celebrating what you had done that day?
That was my sister's birthday party.
What did you feel any remorse while you were drinking Don Julio tequila and putting that in your video and throwing gang signs?
I'm here to testify about today, sir. We've all seen the evidence. We've all reviewed everything.
Mr. Chance, it's not time for you now to make speeches. You've politely answered your counsel's questions. Can you not answer the state's questions? Is there something about my question you don't understand?
I was getting to
I'm sorry, Mr. Gathright. I called you Mr. Chance. Excuse me.
I was getting to my answer. Like I said, I've seen all the evidence.
Well, we've all seen all the evidence.
Yes,
right?
sir. That's true.
And after all that evidence came in, and this jury based their true verdict on that, convicting you, now you're taking accountability? Is that correct?
Sustain the objection. I think the question on the table was remorse about Orlando. Okay?
It is, Your Honor.
You just need to answer that question.
So I'm going to ask you very specifically, okay? So try to focus with a laser beam here, Mr. Gathright. Were you feeling remorse when you were in Club Parlay in Orlando drinking Don Julio? Were you feeling remorse for what you did earlier that day?
I don't remember how I was feeling or what I was thinking.
Were you feeling remorse when you got pulled over in the 4Runner a couple of days later by the police?
I don't remember. I was nervous. I mean, I had never been involved in any police.
Were you feeling remorse when you were unloading the Impala and putting all of that evidence into the 4Runner? Did you feel remorse?
Sir, I told you I don't remember how I was feeling or what I was thinking in those days.
That's Sean Gathright. Young, poor baby, 20 years old. 20 years old. Handsome. Too handsome. They had him up in that courtroom like GQ magazine. Them inmates gonna tear his ass up. That fucking innocent look that he has, or that gaze on his face, that's gonna be gone. Watch, they're gonna interview him in a couple years. He gonna be looking like a totally different person. The life you chose and the consequence. That's a hard ass consequence to face. Damn.
Man, so the dude that unalived Fulio Sean Gathright was in a courtroom crying after they found him guilty. Bruh, what in the light skin is going on? I never understand niggas that do the crime but can't do the time. You know damn well it was a good chance of you getting caught when you did it. He act like he's surprised that they found him guilty. And then I look at dude's background, you come from a good ass family. The other dudes got more of an excuse than you, they come from the hood. You lived in a big ass house with a mom and a dad. You went to basketball camps when you was a kid and got pictures with NBA players. I wish I did grow up like this nigga. It's no way he should have been in that courtroom crying. Now you done showed weakness and you about to have to go in prison with real demons. They not gonna care about all that crying at all in there. I know he's thinking in his head he ain't gonna get to see that loving mama he is. His mom probably loved him like a motherfucker, spoiled him all his life, and he still crashed out. I don't understand privileged kids that want to be tough. There's so many of us that just wish we had a chance at life. You had an actual chance to make your life better. Shit dumb.
I don't think Sean Gathright is gonna survive prison, and I'll tell you why. Did y'all see how he was in that interrogation room and he was trying to remove that ankle monitor? That man was going crazy. He was going berserk in the room. And obviously so, like, his life is about to change. You know, it's a very, like, crazy matter. It's sad for both families. But I don't think he's gonna make it, y'all. I think he's gonna end up unaliving himself in prison, or the inmates are gonna get to him, because not only is he super handsome, he's never been to jail before. And I don't think he's gonna make it. Like, it's a very, like, tricky but also sad situation. Like, be careful who you freaking hang around, and don't make a decision that can change your life, because prison, that's something I wouldn't wish on nobody.
I don't feel bad for Sean Gathright, and that may sound very cold, but I just really don't feel bad. The only people I feel bad for is his mother, his father, and, like, the rest of his family. Otherwise, I just really feel nothing for him, because at the end of the day, identity crisis or not, he was given a more privileged life than most, and he squandered it. He wanted validation from bums, from the street. For what? For what? Like, you were privileged. You could have taken that and done anything. Instead, you decided to go to the streets when you had no... It's not like you needed to be in the streets. That's the thing. Some people are on the streets to survive. He didn't need to. And he took somebody's life. I don't know why this is a debate or anything. He took someone's life. You do the crime, you do the time.